Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to yet another session of Open House by DDAG. I'm Mugdha, your host for the evening. Today, we have with us a very accomplished engineering geologist, Mr. MJ Ahmed. He'll be talking about execution of cut slopes in the Middle East. Now, I'll give a brief introduction of Mr. Ahmed. He has completed Masters from Utkal University and PG Diploma in Engineering Geology from ITC Netherlands. After a brief period of lecturership, he served the Geological Survey of India for over 23 years. He has received the National Mineral Award from Government of India in 1998 for his distinguished work in applied geology. During his professional career of 40 years, he worked and supervised the engineering, geology, geotechnical investigations for large hydropower projects with dams, tunnels, powerhouse cavities, caverns, high rock cut slopes, high-rise towers, etc. He has work he has work experience besides India in the United Arab Emirates, Sultanate of Oman, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and Jordan. Since 2006, he has been working with the Arab Center for Engineering Studies, Dubai branch in UAE, as geotechnical manager and specialist engineering geology. We also have him on board with us as a consultant and advisor in DDAG. So I now welcome Mr. Ahmed to take the stage and start with his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mugdha, for all the good words. Uh, should we start? Share the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Are you able to see this?
Yes.
We can see the screen, but not the presentation yet.
Not yet?
We can see the folder DDAGOH12.
Ahmed sir,
Yeah.
Ahmed sir, exit the share screen.
Yeah, I have
Put on
already.
all the apps on the on the screen. Put on your presentation first. Launch the presentation, then share the screen and then press that.
Is it okay now?
You have to
Uh,
share the screen.
Is it
yes,
okay?
Yes.
yes.
Now it is there.
Now it is
Yeah,
okay.
now. Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah. Welcome, everybody, and good afternoon. This is a presentation on
Please put it in
the.
slideshow.
Yeah, it is.
It is okay. It is in slideshow.
It's in slideshow, yes. Okay, this is a topic on execution of cut slopes in parts of Middle East, what we are following it, and I give you some case studies here. Myself, as already introduced, uh, I have worked here in this part of the world for over 14 years, ever since 2006, and I have been working mostly on the deep foundations and the cut slopes stabilities. So the presentation structure will be something like scope and stability analysis in parts of the Middle East and types of studies we do, techniques adopted, and some case studies will go. Since the work is, means the time allotted is very, very limited, say about 40 minutes, 45 minutes. So I will have many slides. I will just rush through it. If you have any queries, you can halt and discuss on that. So this is the Middle East part. This is our country, India. And this is Emirates. And this part, there are a lot of activities going on in the present day times, especially on the development of infrastructural facilities like roads, towers, buildings, and ports, airports, seaports. A huge activity is going on, especially in Saudi Arabia. There's in billions of dollar projects are going on now. So in general, just to have an overview of the geologic materials which you get in the Middle East, which Middle East covers the Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, Syria, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Oman, Yemen, and parts of Turkey also. So we have more dominantly the unconsolidated materials here, the soils, that is of the quaternary age, especially dominantly. The rocks are deep-seated below about 8 to 10 meters in this part of the world. And some exposures are there, like in the form of hills, hill ranges, mountains, that is there. Or also in general, in the plains, you get rocks at a depth of 2 to 3 meters to 10 meters, 11 meters. Yeah. Above that, you mostly get the unconsolidated materials. And underlying the unconsolidated materials, you get intermediate geomaterial, that is the weathered rocks or the class T, highly destructured profile you get is very distinct. So at times, the buildings or the constructions activity have to deal with this intermediate geomaterials. And for deep basements excavations, you have to stabilize the slopes, cut slopes. As a mandatory requirement, all these slopes which are generated more than 3 meters have to be analyzed and properly analyzed before they get the approval for construction. So it's a mandatory requirement. So below that, the rocks, when we got deeper excavation of 10, 12 meters, or in the hill roads, any construction at the foot of the hills, you get more than 8 to 10 meters slopes, cut slopes. Those are mostly in the rocks. In this region, these are mostly Mesozoic and Cenozoic rocks, which are sedimentary, dominantly the sedimentary carbonate rocks, like limestone, dolomites, calcareous sandstones, calcisiltite marls, mudstones. And these mudstones where they are mostly interbedded with the dolomites and limestones, which play a vital role in slope stabilities when they are dipping or inclined at places. In general, mostly the beds are subhorizontal bedded with slight dips of about 10 to 15 degrees locally due to the warpings, local warpings there. So besides these carbonates, Mesozoic, Cenozoic rocks, you get plutonic rocks in Saudi Arabia, you get the granites. And in the UAE and Oman region, you get the ophiolites, big range of mountain of ophiolites. And you got the other rocks like your migmatites also in certain places you are getting as windows within the sedimentaries. So a whole range of rocks are there, but mostly for the slope stabilities, we get involved with the rocks like the limestones, the ophiolites, because they are in the hill ranges. For cutting or tunneling, you have to cross or cut across the mountains. So you have got high at places, very high slopes, cut slopes of 45 to 50 meters height for laying the infrastructure roads or tunnels in the tunnel portals. Okay. The rocks are very jointed, highly jointed. In many places, more than 7 to 8 sets of joints you are getting. And This poses extensive instability issues at times. If it's not properly studied and designed, the slopes, especially the slope angles vis-a-vis the protection measures, if they are not properly studied, they at times will land into problems. This webinar presentation deals with the systematic followed in the study of an effective design and construction of the cut slopes and estimation of cliffs in parts of Middle East. In Middle East part, you have got very good number of deep or high cliffs, cliff faces where the developments like construction of resorts, construction of hotels, these are contemplated or they are either proposed or under construction, and they mostly come to us to estimate the stability of these cliff faces and what is the safe working line from the edge of the cliff for constructing the towers or hotels, any developmental activity for that matter, like roads also. So we have to have a specific requirement here for the cliff faces. We've got a lot of cliffs here around in the Middle East, like in UAE, Saudi Arabia, Oman. We have got good number of cliffs which are up to 700, 800 meter height, which are used as a scenic spots, and they develop resorts on the top of these cliffs there. We'll come to one case studies. The approach has to be very systematic, and if you are systematic in the approach, you are remarkably cost effective and with high confidence on the long-term safety of the structures as well. So that's why a systematic study of the cut slopes or the cliffs is necessary before you embark on any detailed designs for the structures sitting over the cliffs or slopes or the slopes by itself. Their slope angles, what should be the optimum slope angle vis-a-vis the protection measures. It should be cost effective, and at the same time it should have a long-term safety. So this cut slopes normally in the soils, weathered rocks, intermediate geomaterials, IGMs. Then rocks with defined discontinuities they have. And study of cliff stabilities are mostly naturals. So this also we follow it. These are some typical cut slope failures which you observe in most part of this region. These are wedge failures even during construction or just after construction or within 10 years of construction. You have got lot many because up till up to the late I think 2005-4 there was not much of concept on the study of cut slopes. They were just excavating as it is and leaving it. And these are some of the examples of failures within 7-8 years of excavations are the cuts which have been generated. There is a big slope, there is a bench width of 5 meters, and you get these cracks, this opening of crack. This happened in the limestones soon after excavations, and hardly then within a few months, not even months, with one rain, it started creating big, huge slope of about 70-meter height. It slided down, and this is the gapping tension crack which has developed here. And these are some typical cut slope failures in the Middle East region. You see, there is the natural cliffs which are falling with rock falls, and these are some typical toppling failures which has occurred. This soon after, within 1 year of excavation, such failures have happened if they are not properly studied. Here, the berm is a bench is there, is concrete, but below the concrete is all failed here. You see, this concrete slab is overhanging. This was a ceiling on the bench, but this all failed. So for all practical purposes, this whole slope has failed in a way. So the engineered slopes mostly are the embankments or cut slopes or retaining walls. So there's just an indication. Embankments are mostly in cohesionless soils. So we have to, or in the weathered rocks, where you have to have a proper assessment of the material and design a proper cut slope for slope angle for the excavations. So this is very, in general, in most of the projects you have in the fields or in the weathered profiles or in the topsoils where the slopes are of anything more than 3 meters. That's why it is a mandatory requirement from the authorities to approve the designs. Whatever excavations are there 3 meters, it's a mandatory requirement to have a slope stability analysis for all this. So every project has to be assessed, which has got more than 3 meters of excavation to be assessed properly. And the slopes have to be designed, whether it is temporary or permanent slopes, they have to be designed properly. So that requires a mandatory study for these cut slopes. So the factors which are contributing to slope failures are mainly the composition, structure, secondary or inherited structures like faults or your joint system, then the stratification, the angle of stratification. All these are the contributing factors for the stability of the cut slopes. So we have to identify all these structural aspects of the within the rock material or rock formations, and we have to go for a stability analysis. These are the different parameters we assess, like the effect of pore pressure, then dynamic stress conditions, the inherent structure of the material, and their rock mechanic properties. So we approach for rock cut slope analysis within the rocks. We approach and follow the different techniques. We'll give you just an overview of that. Involves a systematic data acquisition from the field using the latest field techniques of like Indian geological mapping. We use satellite imageries or aerial photographs at times with the area is large, like for the cliff or studies where it is more than 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers even cliff lengths. We use the satellite imagery, high resolution satellite imageries to identify any major structures passing through, especially. And then we do the walkover surveys with engineering geological mapping, and we collect the data, basic data like joint system, different joints, sets, bedding data, azimuthal data of the structures. Then for the cliff faces, we adopt a terrestrial photography for the cliff faces or the cut slopes for a final estimation of the slopes with potential blocks or potentiality assessment of the potential nature of the slopes where it is, identify the zones, isolate the zones, and we provide site-specific treatment based on the terrestrial photo mosaics we develop by the terrestrial photography technique. And at times the cliffs are very high, more than 700, 800 meters high, even 200 meters high. We use the drone-based oblique photography of the cliffs and prepare the photo mosaics. And from that, we identify or develop the geomaps and the slope protection maps also based on the photo mosaics. And we got laser scanning also when the projects are sophisticated and the cliffs are very high. At times the cliffs we find very close to the seashore. So there is hardly any chance of walking along the toe of the cliffs. So we use the boats or steamers, and from there we use this laser scanning of the cliff faces to identify the major structural features, especially, and the joint system, and carry out the stability analysis of the cliff faces. Then we do slope mapping and characterization with terrestrial photography mosaics, as I told you. Then we do specific boreholes to identify the lithologic variations and the structural variations, if any, based on this investigation or intrusive investigation is carried out based on the geological mapping, which you do on the surface. And when you do the borehole, normally we prefer to have the high resolution acoustic televiewers study, from where you can identify without excavation. If you are not able to see a good cliff faces or nature, then we go for HIRAT also in the boreholes to identify the joint system and the structural aspects like fillings, any deep-seated shear seams or shear zones. This you can identify with this technique. And preparation of site-specific slope protection maps based on the slope mapping, which you do and characterize the slope surface, like based on the structures, seepage, any beddings, and lithologic variations. All these are depicted on the slope map. And based on that, we prepare a site-specific slope protection map with rock rolls or shotcrete or wire mesh, whatever you want to use it as per the analysis. We mark it on the slope map, which we prepare, and that we call it as a slope protection map, which is quite handy for execution, and it is quite user-friendly as this one. So the joint data acquisition, collection of joint persistence, spacing, all this data we collect for the analysis. And then we got the going for the stereo analysis, stereography, or empirical method of analysis by interpretation of joint data using identifying the joint system, number of joints, identifying the failure modes from the stereo nets, and we use softwares like DIPS, rock science softwares like DIPS and stereo for this. Then based on the findings from the stereo analysis, we go for an analytical check using the rock science programs like SWAGE, Rockplane, and we have Rockfall also to identify the site-specific problems. The various equipments we used for the purpose of slope stability studies are the over GPS, geologic compass, of course, high-resolution SLR cameras, selective for terrestrial photography, laser scanners, drone-mounted cameras, drilling equipment with SIs, HIRAT equipment for photography, borehole photography, and then comb profile, joint roughness measurement, Smith's hammer, joint strength, tapes, linear measurements for linear measurements and all that. Then in the laboratory, we go in for testing, direct shear box tests we go to determine the shear strength parameters. Direct shear box test we carry out in the laboratory to determine the shear strength parameters of along the joints, along with fillings and without fillings, with asperities, considering all that, we determine the shear strength parameters like C and phi along the joint for the stability analysis. Then we carry out point load tests for the strength, estimation of strength parameters, and density we estimate. Then the whole analysis revolves around the factor of safety which you have and what you have to achieve. So there are two methods we use for factor of safety. That is ASD method, that is allowable stress design method, and the other is a load resistance factor LRFD method. So in in this ASD mostly we do for ASD method, where factor of safety we check for 1.5 in a static condition and up to 1.2 factor of safety in the dynamic condition or earthquake condition. So you use specific softwares like WSlope here and in SWedge and Rockplane. We use it to determine the factor of safety without any support system. Then to target this factor of safety 1.5, if required, what is the additional support measure required, we can identify with this analysis. The other is LRFD method, that is load resistance factor design method. In that, where the parameters used are factorized by 1/3 or so, and we check for a factor of safety of 1.2 to 1.1. So this is the difference between where the estimates, the estimated parameters like C, phi, density, and loads, external loads, these are factorized and used directly where to check a factor safety of 1. This is the difference between ASD and LRFD method. But no, mostly we follow the ASD method here to check for a factor safety of 1.5 to 1.1. The parameters for stability check and analysis, the various properties of the rocks and joint sets which need to be determined or studied and used in the analysis are the rock mass properties like density and strength. Rock slopes, we have azimuthal directions of the slope, and the rock structure, discontinuity, joint set characteristics, like these are the different parameters we collect from the site as well as from the lab tests we have. And we take the joint set characteristics like persistence, spacing, aperture, opening, filling. This gives you an idea on the block size which is formed or likely to be formed, and we can create, if it falls, what will be the size of the block, what will be the weight of the block. All this you estimate from the analysis on the basis of these parameters which you collect from the sites. So this is engineering geological mapping we normally carry out. This is just an overview. We use rover GPS here. We use compass. We physically measure the data here on that. Then the different data we collect during the course of this mapping are like joint spacing, persistent, aperture, filling, roughness, joint composite strength. Of course, we get it from the lab. Or we do Smith's hammer. Using Smith's hammer, we get the direct strength from the field. Then besides that, we measure the rock quality daising RQD, we joint volume, we estimate it, then weathering grade, we note observation. Rock mass, we use the classification, engineering classification of weathering grades to classify the weathering or describe the weathering of the rock mass. This is a typical data sheet. We use it in the field to collect the different parameters. We have everything, azimuthal direction, persistence of each joint. We measure the data. We use either the scanline method or the global method, which is feasible depending on the sites to collect the data. Then we do the specialized laboratory testing. From the course, we select the joints and we prepare the blocks. Then we take photographs, we measure the asperities and the directions. Then we mount it on the mold here. Then this is the direction machine, and we share it and determine the C and phi. Then we take the photographs of the sheared surfaces or after failure, and we do for recording and reporting purposes. Then rock mass rating, we use SMR, RMR, GSI. These are different standard classifications. We use it for describing or characterizing the rock masses. For slopes, normally we use RMR and SMR and to characterize and describe the. I'm not going into the details of each classification. I have a little time on that. Just personnel and softwares which we use. The personnel involved in such studies include a highly experienced engineering geologist, civil geotechnical engineers, geophysicists we use at times to determine the high rate. Normally the geophysicist handles it. Then a material engineer for testing, lab testing, then geologist for the field mapping. Then we have surveyor for using the GPS and handling the GPS. We use the surveyor. Then we have technicians for testing. And specialist softwares which we use are AutoCAD, StereoNet, DIPS, Rockplane, SWAGE, as photo managers for processing of the terrestrial photographs. And then we use Rockfall. We can flag 3D also we use for 3D analysis. So this is just an overview of a rock slope mapping with terrestrial photomosaic. This is the principle. What is the base distance ratio? Based on that, we take the overlapping, we fix the overlap, and take the photographs. So this is just, and this is the standard chart we use based on the focal length. What is the base distance ratio? We have to adapt. So focal length is 80 for a focal of 50 mm. So, so we will find out the base distance ratio. So based on that, we fix the distances at the base here, and we take photographs accordingly to have a specific overlap of the photographs. I will not go into the details of this. This terrestrial photography. This is one of the 800-meter high cliff surface. We took the photographs of this cliff face from about 2 kilometer distance with this SLR camera. And that was amazing results it gave. People were proposing, contemplating that time to use helicopters to map this cliff face. However, we came in that time, it is in 2004-5, and we undertook this job, and we had to trek a lot, climbing up about 1 kilometer, means almost 900 meters up, and at a distance of about 2 kilometers, we took these photographs, and we could determine the features. This is the photographs which were taken from 2 kilometer distance. This one, this is the photo with mosaic. And this is also about 1.5 kilometer distance we took these photographs. And based on this, we prepared the overall status of the face and what best we can estimate on the stability of this cliff with any overhangs or any potential wedges or anything of that sort we can identify from these photographs. In this particular project, after 2004, they came again in just 2019 for a review of the cliff faces again. And we took a repeat photography of that terrestrial and compared the previous and the present. A lot of rock falls because it's a retreating cliff that was identified. So we had to recorded from where this rock fall has occurred. So this was one useful study to keep the records and follow through how the cliff is behaving, cliff face with time, in order to propose the safe working line on the cliff on the cliff top, and where at what distance the structure should be founded. So this is some precision drilling at times we do for the HIRET study, as well as to study the joint surfaces, the joint surface data. We measure the dips, varying dips, and the asperities, undulations at depth. Suppose our depth of excavation is more than 50 meters or 40 meters. Beforehand, you can find out what is the type of structure or the nature of structures or the properties of the joint surfaces all beforehand for a proper design. So this is the higher resolution acoustic televiewers we use in the boreholes to determine or estimate the joint system. Then the features are this is for the HIRET equipment features, and this is the analysis interpretation we do. We get the polar diagrams, we get the Rosers. Then for this box, particularly we have the recoveries. Then you do the HIRET output, and these are the different joints. We compare it with the actual recoveries of cores and the joints just for confirmation. And you can use this data, like you got the shear seams at depth of say 12 meters, 15 meters. We have another shear seam at this depth. So these are the beddings. If it's a horizontal, we got the beddings or bedding shears also at times you get. So you can identify the weak features at depth without before you land into excavations, and estimate the potential nature of these seams, weak features, with respect to the cut slopes. And there is a specialized laboratory testing we have done. Then we come to the data analysis, the empirical method and analytical method follow. Empirical method is the stereo plotting or the kinematic admissibility checks, on which we identify the failure modes, and they identify the exact failure like wedges, planar failures, or toppling failures. And we identify the specific wedges for which the analytical checks are to be carried out. We identify the azimuthal directions of these differential joint sets, which are contributing to the instability from this empirical method. Am I okay? Continuing okay? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, just cross check. Yeah. Now come to the analytical methods. We, as I said, in the empirical method, we go for this different failure modes, identify the failure modes with the joint system or the stereo plotting or kinematic admissibility checks using the softwares, rock science softwares. And there's a typical thing where instability is there is not on the factor of safety of the structure. We adopt 2.5, 3, whatever is the structure. But when it is sitting on an unstable foundation like this, the factor of safety reduces a lot. So the factor of safety which you have to consider in this slope stability analysis should be much not 1.5, but we consider it around 2 to 2.5, even 3, looking to the criticality of the structure. So this is the first study. Then we got the analytical method with wedge failure analysis. We identify the wedges from the stereo plots. From there, we take the azimuthal data. Then we take the laboratory test results or the strength parameters. Then we take the seismic parameters from the seismicity of the area, considering the seismicity of the area, the G factor. Then we go for the analysis and we have the results, the block size, the block volume, the area of the joint plane or unstable plane along or the sliding plane or failure plane. Then there was the plunge line of the intersection in case of wedge. This is a wedge analysis. Then then we go for a planar or analytical method for the check plane analysis, plane failure. Then we take water pressure, we assume tension crack as well. And assuming tension crack, depend on the site observations, we assume the tension cracks. If anything is there, any tension crack is observed, then we check consider the exact observation details based on the observation details, or else we assume a tension crack for any stability of the block. And these water pressures we consider. So based on this, we do analysis and check for a factor of safety of 1.5 or 1.2 under dynamic condition, 1.5 under static conditions. So if you are not able to achieve that, then we introduce the support system. This is the rock bolt here, rock bolts. And with this, applying the normal stress on this, normal load on the shear plane here, we consider put a load on this, normal loading with the assuming this along the rock bolt, and we check the factor of safety. If the factor of safety is still not achieved, we increase the normal loading here, the normal stress, till we achieve the factor of safety of 1.5. Then we shift the mode to the dynamic condition. In static condition, we check this, and then we shift to the dynamic condition mode, and there we check what is the factor of safety. If it is 1.2, close to 1.2 is considered to be okay. So these are the analysis we do. We do a sensitivity analysis also at times for critical projects or large projects, where which parameter is sensitive to the stability. So to the factor of safety, yeah, like your cohesion or the angle of internal friction or unit weight or the seismic coefficient condition, which is more sensitive to the stability of the earth. So accordingly, the support measures are designed. We stress more on the support accordingly to the support designs. So this is a typical summary of output from analytical checks, where we have different parameters, phi, c, the slope strength, slope height, then external loading conditions, then tension crack, what is the tension crack we assume or not assume, then water pressure, what is in the tension crack, of course, this water pressure. Then what is the factor safety we are achieving? This is safe here. Here is 1.1 factor of safety, so we apply the support here, support in the form of shotcrete, 100 mm. Then we know with only shotcrete we are achieving 4.4. Factor of safety in static condition and dynamic is 3.2. So with this, we check for each block, like in wedge block or planar block, we check and then we design or recommend the support measure which is required to be done. And we identified site specifically on the production map with the help of. Then the solution measures are, as you know, this is slope angle, bench width, slope height between benches. These are finalizing the construction drawings showing the slope angle, bench width, slope height and benches, identification slope protection measures for stabilization based on the analysis like shotcrete, rock bolt, wire mesh, geogrids, toe walls, gabions, and all concrete toe walls, then toe ditches, drainage, all this. Then support measure for rock slopes. Of course, these are the applications, how we apply the support rock bolts, and shotcrete, of course, if there is the wedge, then where you have to put this. Site-specific positioning of the rock bolts is further optimized during the construction or just after the slope is finally excavated. Then these are some of the, hello, yes.
We have about 5 more minutes to go.
Yeah.
But we can take about 10 minutes.
Okay.
So that will leave only 5 minutes for question and answer session.
Okay.
10 more minutes. Thank you.
Thanks. So these are some typical manually prepared the slope protection maps. Then we characterize or zoning we do, like a high strength rock, high strength, medium spaced, highly weathered, or no, or slightly weathered. Like we identify in this and categorize the slopes, and based on this we support the give the protection measures, like only shortcut or with bolts or without bolts, or only shortcut with mesh reinforcement or without mesh reinforcement. And at times we handle with the slope angle, and we give the rockfall protection fence like this also, depending on the site specific studies. These are site specific. The whole slope is mapped, and based on that we have recommended only shortcut on this part only with some rock bolts as identified of potential blocks. Then artificial, this is now come into case studies. This is one typical study where the water is pumped up to on the top of this cut slope. This is about 45 meters to 50 meters height. Here they have constructed a restaurant on the top, and they have taken pumped water up to the top of the restaurant, and they're creating a waterfall here. Is an artificial waterfall which is created very recently, and it is already functional now. And we had to check the stability of this cut slope with the loadings of the water as well as the building loads. So we did, as usual, the geological mapping, then slope stability checks and supports had to do to identify the support measures and design the support measures as well. Then based on the geological mapping and the lab test which we do, there is the certain, we identified a weak seam which is dipping at 32 degrees onto the slope. And we check the stability of this block on the top. This is about 8 meters from the top of this slope. So this block, the wedge block, they check the stability with the loadings on the structure, loading of the structure here. So we identified that it was not meeting the stability requirements. So we had to introduce the rock support system or rock bolts of 8 to 12 meter length with normal tensioning up to 30 tons, 30 to 35 tons. This is the identified summary table of rock bolts. And this was executed at site, and the structure was constructed, and it is functional now at the moment. So this is a restaurant here. The water is to be pumped from the top here, and it was creating a fall and going a pool here, and then from here the water falls onto the slope here. So this is the face where we had to do some rock bolting from the face itself. So we had to deploy big cranes to install these rock bolts, 5 to 8 meters length here. And from the top rest, we installed these bolts from the top. Only one row we had here. This is the waterfall. In the night, it looks like there's a spot, scenic spot, very close to the sea beach. There's Khorfakan beach in Sharjah area. So this was a very interesting project. We worked day and night. Now, in the last over 6 months, this is functional. Then we had the branded service apartment, Ava in Saudi Arabia. We did one project where this is about 60 meter high, cliff cut. The slope was, this is during construction. Then we did the textile photography, then we identified the lithoinuts and the structures. Then based on that, we designed the support system for this. Then this is the building, this is a hotel, it's a service apartment, branded hotel. And this the profile was something like this, gently profile, hill profile. Then this was cut to this size, and the bench was created to construct the hotel here. So this is the face log, or the photograph which I have, and based on that we have identified, characterized the rock masses, identified the litho units. This is the shear seam here. We worked out a stability check for this, and we identified the support system. This is the different analysis we carried out. This is the stereo plots. Then we had the GSI estimations. From that also we found out the C5 parameters. Then we did the stability analysis or stability checks, and we identified the support system, support requirement, and considering the surcharge loads on the top. So these are based on the study. These are the different recommendations which are given, and the rock bolts were of different lengths at different elevations, because the gap or the area between this building and this cut slope was very limited, only 4 to 5 meters. What happened? They did some estimations earlier. They put long bolts. That was done by us. And later the consultant went to some other agency, and they carried out a review analysis, and they recommended 8 to 9 meter rock bolts throughout, from top to bottom. By then the building was already constructed. So they had only 4 or 5 meters here space, and it was impossible to install the 8 meter bolts in this region. So we did another review analysis later. Then we worked out, we increased the tonnage capacities here of the bolts, put higher bolts here, means larger dia bolts here. And we reduced the length of the bolts at this toe level, and increase the normal loading tension to achieve the factor of safety. We did for different conditions here the stability, the static without tension crack, with tension crack, dynamic without tension crack. All these aspects were considered in the analysis. And for the different sections, this was about 100 meter long slope, this one. So we had about 9 sections evaluated for the stability check, and the support system was designed, and it is in position now. The hotel is completed, and so far so good, it's going on. The recommendations which are given, as I told you, is that we also mesh reinforcing existing systematic bolting. Then we changed, altered to 36 millimeter dia bolts. Earlier it was 26 mm only. And then we had to put some additional drainage boreholes here, because there was a seam here, which is potentially, of course, the dip of the seam was about 25 degrees. But with the normal loading, there was an existing building here already. Another building was coming here, has come here. For this whole slope was excavated to position this tower. So these are the different recommendations we give based on these studies. Now we come to the cliffs, natural cliffs. We do geologic mapping, terrestrial photography, stability analysis. This cliff was about 800 meter high. This is Sultanate of Oman. They had Oman Tourism wanted to construct a resort hotel on the top. This is the top. This is satellite imagery. All this were along this, they had put resort hotels now. This was in 2004-05. We carried out the study, and we had a review in 2019 again. So there were many rock falls here. So based on our previous study, we had given a safe working line on this. Different options we had given. So the methodology, as I told you, it is very similar to what I have given the general study. But the most interesting part was here, the terrestrial photography, which carried out from a distance of 2 kilometers. That was very challenging. And we had to trek almost 900 meters on top, steep slopes. And we went to the complementary top of the gorge section. From the other side of the gorge section, we took the photograph, and it went well, very well. And this is the geological map of the top portion, and this is the cliff distress, highly distressed zone. So, so mostly these are limestones, and we had, though it is subhorizontally bedded, the joints are distressed. The edges are very much distressed of the cliff face, and we had a lot of distressed rock mass all along the cliff, all along this cliff. Then we did the mapping, we did drilling, we did acoustic televiewer, then we did trenching also, then we got geological mapping for collecting all data from here, and then we did terrestrial photography. As I told you, this is the cliff section, grass section. From here we came to the complementary top, this side, and we take the photographs from those two. So this is the north slope and this is the south slope. This is how we did it. And this photography was really interesting. It was very challenging because we had to convince a lot of people in the authorities as well as the consultants. So we took a lot of time and we completed the job very successfully, and they're quite okay with this. These are the photographs which are taken from around 2 kilometer distance with a high resolution cameras.
Ahmed sir, can we rush through now?
Yeah, this different zoning we did the stereo analysis for the different zones. Then we identified direct shear test. Then we did the chemistry admissibility check. Then analytical check, same. Then these are the different nature of the distress zone. We identified the distress zone. Then for different zones, we identified the different wedge blocks. Then we have the summary data of slope stability analysis, analytical checks. And this is the nature of the distress zone close to the edge of the cliff. Then based on the study analysis and the nature of the distress zone, thickness or width of the distress zone, we fixed a safe working line at a distance of 5 to 6 meters from the cliff edge. So they gave different options. For without any protection measure, you have 8 to 10 meters from the edge. And if you are going for some protection measures, it will be, your edge will be here about 5 to 6 meters. So different option, 2, 3 options we had given. We did the analysis with this. And now the latest going on in Saudi Arabia is Qiddiya, which is a 17-kilometer cliff face, which has got a lot of, means at about 200-meter high cliff, and got width of about 300-meter tall roller coasters. These are the different structures to come in that area over the cliffs. And these are some typical models. You can see the structures which are likely to come for the different cliff faces here. So these are the different structures which are to come, like the resorts, 90-meter high hotels, water parks, racing track, shallow tunnels, parkings. All this will come within this 17-kilometer cliff face. So this is the satellite image. This is the different base of the cliffs we have. 200 meter. We had to estimate the stability of these cliffs. We did a study. The cliff section is almost 17 kilometers, and we did almost 43 sections we took across this to study the stability based on the structures proposed or locations of the proposed. The techniques we used is digital terrestrial photography, escarpment, geotechnical mapping, aerial photogrammetry models. Then we did drone surveys, drone oblique photography, and point clouding method we used to do the analysis. Here we did the rockfall analysis. Here also the rock mass characterization. We did kinematic analysis, rockfall analysis, key block stability analysis, FEM modeling. We did how the cliffs will behave with the loading, with the dynamic loading, because roller coaster is a very dynamic loading it gives. So, all these studies were done, and the softwares used are DIPS, S-block, RS2 strain displacements, and this is the different rockfall trajectories which are estimated from the rockfall software, at what distance these blocks will roll down. If it falls from here, to what distance it will roll down. So based on this, they will design the support system as well the location of the structure which is to come here. So these are some typical studies. This is the displacement without bolts, without any protection, how the cliffs will behave with the loading. So, or what will be the order of displacement. So these were identified with the RS2 study, S-block study, and the rockfall analysis, heat maps, runout distances, energy, velocity, and bounce height were provided to the designers. Then this given indication of the rockfall risk, and this can be used in inform rockfall mitigation, risk mitigation measures also. And the another was same Saudi Arabia, this is the Riyadh cliff face. We very recently we did this project. And again, same terrestrial photography, laboratory testing, everything, walkover survey, satellite imagery studies, all these were done. This is about 7 square kilometer area. And the cliff length is about 5 kilometers, and the height is 20 to 25 meter high cliff on the western side, and the cliff height. This is the cliff all along this. And this is a national heritage site. So we have had restrictions on the support measures we recommended. No short kit was to be used, no wire mesh, and no rock bolt as well. So we had to propose synthetic transparent adhesive type polypropylene grouts here to grout the cliffs, because the distress zone was about 2 to 3 meters, and we had given a safe working line of 3 to 5 meters from the edge of the cliff. So these are the different studies. These are some general photographs of the site. Then this is the geology we did based on the satellite imagery studies. Then we did the site walkover survey, collect the joint data. Then we take the Smith-Summer test. We do the asperities. It was very important for this project. Asperities we collected with the comb profilographs. Here we use the Smith-Summer for strengths. So these are the different. Then we identified the distress zone. Here, this is the cliff, and this is the zone. This is about 3 to 5 meters from the edge of the cliff. So this is the distress zone where all these blocks have opened up, distress all along. So then we did the stereo plotting analysis as usual. Then we identified the joint set characteristics, different zoning. We do for each zone. We identified the potential failure modes, failure blocks. These are different, which joint system, which joint set is involved for this wedge 1 in zone 1. So these are the azimuthal directions, then azimuthal, then is the wedge. And this data was utilized in the analytical check. Here input for analytical check with this data, and this is the parameters, input parameters for the analytical check. Then we did the analytical check for wedge. Then we did planar line failure. Then the summary given what is the factor of safety you are achieving. Mostly it is all safe, no wedge formed, because the slope direction here is slope angle is about 50 to 55 degrees maximum, and the bedding joints are subhorizontal about 2 to 5 degrees. So there was a lot of stability, good stability of the cliff face that was to be identified. With the surcharge loads, of course, we went up to 36 tons, 35 tons of surcharge loading. We estimated and checked for the stability, and over almost 8 sections we analyzed for the stability along this cliff.
Can we wrap up, please, now, Ahmed Saab?
Yeah, It's over. Yeah, this is the stability we have done. There were different sections. These are the different protection maps we have given. There are a lot of caves, caverns here. So we have used mostly synthetic means products for recommended for this stabilization. Like as I told you, synthetic grouts or synthetic sprays to stabilize. They don't want any alteration of the face. If the caves are there, if the solution cavities are there, it should be as it is natural because it is a heritage site. So no alteration, face alteration they want. It is to be very natural. So we use transparent synthetic grouts here for sprays and grouting in the top. No rock bolts, no varnish. Luckily, the site was quite okay from the stability point of view, so we could recommend all this. Or else had it been requirement of stabilization, the rock bolts and all that, it would have been a different issue. So in the unconsolidated materials, we follow like soils and weathered rock, the stability analysis we carry out for circular failure analysis. And we collect the mass sampling, do the sampling from the site. Then we do the testing for direct shear, small shear box or large shear box, depending on the site requirement. And we follow the analytical methods straight away. No empirical method here, straight away analytical method. Then we do, based on the analysis, we recommend the support measure, which is required, either wire mesh or geogrid or geotextile or rock bolts or soil nails here in this case. And we use the SlopeW software to support the recommendations. Yeah. This is a 3D, 2D analysis we do with XStable also using the software. Thank you so much for your patient hearing.
Thank you so much, Ahmed sir.
Yeah.
Now the session is open for questions. We'll quickly take a couple of questions. So if anybody wants to ask a question, please raise your hand or and unmute yourself and ask the question, please.
Yeah. I want to ask one question.
Sir, please introduce yourself.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Nawani. Hello.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah. So actually, after having done so much that you started from the data collection, then analysis, and then support system, whatever, because these are very important sites, as you say that tourism is the main attraction and a lot of construction activities will be there. Now the stability is the main issue here, and for that I didn't come across in your lecture whether some instrumentation was done to know the stability, because post construction and stabilization, how the slope is behaving, that is a major issue these days, you see. And since there is no vegetation in the area, it is a desert climate totally. So this soil cover and then loose blocks, you have many issues. Now, my point here is that whether some radar system, slope stability radars you have fixed, or you're going for some instrumentation to have the time-lapse monitoring of the stability, for the stability of the structure. This is one question I have asked.
Yeah. Just I showed you some cliff for especially for the cliff projects where we have recommended some instrumentation for that, not like extensometers or of that kind. We just put some repeat leveling kind of monitoring with time to check how the cliff edges are stable. But in Qiddiya project, which I told you in the last, I showed you the last project in Saudi Arabia, we have got a whole lot of monitoring system with extensometers, with repeat leveling, and with continuous radar system. Initially, every 15 days they will monitor with the loading of the structures. There is a continuous monitoring system planned for that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Mugdha,
Yes, Mehrotra sir. Please ask.
hello. I just wanted a small question.
Yes.
Ahmed sir,
Ji answer.
apart from empirical methods of estimation, have you ever thought of any other method of estimation of RMR or SMR?
Yeah, I told you this is one of the depending on the specific project requirements. We do RMR.
Because what I am talking of is there is another estimation method called geostatistical estimation of RMR and Q value.
Yes.
So have you ever thought of this? Because this method gives you the prediction accuracy also.
Yeah, of course. Geostatistical, we have not used much. Why much? We have not used as such.
I am asking, have you ever thought of it?
No, we haven't thought of.
Okay.
Because we are resolving the problems with our standard applications of RMR, GSI, and SMR. This, and then we are getting into directly the analytical checks in modeling. 3D models, we have 2D modeling.
Those empirical methods don't give you any prediction accuracy.
Actually, the prediction normally is ultimately boils down to the factor of safety, which you do. So the factor of safety which you check or work out is based on the analytical checks. Empirical checks, we just identify the failure modes.
No, what I wanted to say is you collect a sample at one place. You collect a sample. Sir.
We are now quite delayed. In fact, we are overshot by about 12 minutes. So this discussion part, we can take up later on by mail. So your observation,
what I was talking is what happens between two samples. The distance between two samples.
I think your point is well driven home. Mr. Ahmed has taken note of that, and he himself said that he has not given a thought to it. But certainly you have raised a very good point today. I think he will take cognizance of that, and probably we can have a discussion on this later on. Maybe you give me an idea that probably we can have a discussion, an open house on geostatistics itself. So let's keep it.
I'll welcome it, sir.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, that's better. Why not get exposed to this?
I have already delivered a lecture in Amity University.
Oh, that's good. Very good. We will also have one lecture here. Thank you, sir.
Thank
you, Mehrotra sir.
Can we wrap it up now?
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, sir.
पांडे साहब कुछ बोल रहे हैं.
Sir, we request.
Pandey sir, please be visible.
हाँ सर बोलिए.
I am visible to myself. I must have.
Yes, now it's much better.
I have a small query to you. Yeah. And that is this area belongs to an extreme arid zone and has very low seismicity. So what are the triggering factors for the artificial slopes to fail? Is this the diurnal variation of temperatures or something else?
Temperature variation, of course, is there because we are studying the thermal images also on this to have what is the variation, order of variation. And of course, the seismic effect, even if it is low seismic, if the wedge is in critical state, the minor earthquake will good enough to trigger. So in that way, we are considering as earthquake stability in earthquake conditions also for this.
Okay. Thank you, Pandey sir. Thank you, Emma sir. I'll
now
quickly go
Pandey
to...
To quite an extent.
Excuse me, sir. I have some question.
Excuse me, sir. I'll have to request you to send us the question through email, or maybe you can stay back and we can discuss after the end of the session. We are running out of time, so it's my sincere request to all the participants. Stay back if you want to discuss it further. I'll now quickly go to Mr. Deva and request him to give his concluding remarks on today's session.
This presentation has been a real treat. I think Mr. Ahmed is putting his heart and soul into his work. I mean, it's an excellent presentation we had today. Lots of it was there, and I'm sorry that we had to curtail it to some extent, but I think we have got the points which he has raised. So thank you, Ahmed Saab. Thank you once again for accepting our invitation and coming to us. And I can see that the attendance also was quite impressive today. And everybody has stayed back till it is over. And I think you also stay back. We have some participants which we need to discuss something more. So we will now, I think, finish this program, this open house. Thank you to you. Thank you to our, Navani Saab, Pandey Saab, Mehrotra Saab, who have raised some very pertinent questions, and to all our participants who are there, who have listened to it, and I think they are benefited. So we will see you next month, most probably on second Saturday as planned, till there is some Eid-like festival and we have to postpone it. So see you next month. Thank you very much.
Thank
and
you.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned, as Mugdha says, stay tuned.
Yes. Thank you so much. Once again, I'll just say goodbye. Stay safe. Take care. See you all next month.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you.
Yes, Vinodji, you were asking some question. I think recording